We were all raised by the Kop, I'm not joking, no. It stimulated me.
When you've got 55,000 people in the stadium, and back in those days, the 60s and the 70s, the noise was incredible.
This is a place and an experience that remains with people all their lives. It was the place to be, the Kop, and the club was just growing. The Beatles were doing a thing, the city was absolutely booming, and as soccer has it, you know, Merseyside was the place to be.
When Shankly used to come and stand up there, and we could pinpoint where he used to sit, we used to all put our arms up and Shankly, 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 and he was such an humble man. He used to just bow down.
Yes, a great save as St John has scored, and that puts Liverpool in the final. After strong the goal. This is Lindsay. And here's Lawler coming round. Goal!
Saturday, April the 30th, 1994. The Kop fills up for the last time. Liverpool fans have been standing here for 88 years. Today, they say their fond farewell to the Kop in their own distinctive way. The procession of former Liverpool heroes is led by Albert Stubbins. Then the great Billy Liddell. The evergreen Ian Callaghan. The indomitable Tommy Smith. Flying winger Steve Highway, goalscorer David Johnson, and David Fairclough, who they called Super Sub. Craig Johnston was back from Australia, and Phil Thompson, a former Kopite himself, brought out his two sons.
A legend to you, Kenny Dalglish.
Kenny's reception spoke for itself. And then, either side of former manager Joe Fagan, Mrs. Nessie Shankly, widow of Bill, and Mrs. Jessie Paisley, wife of Bob. Shankly and Paisley had piloted Liverpool to their premier position in football, and the Kop knew that Shankly had started it all. It was already an emotional occasion when Liverpool and Norwich City took the field for the last match in front of the Kop. Cue Jerry Marsden of Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Hold your head up high.
be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky, and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, walk on, hope in your heart, and you never walk alone. You never walk alone. Walk on, God, with hope in your heart. You never walk alone. You never walk alone. Well, love you to come. God bless you. Take care.
Liverpool Football Club was founded in 1892. Everton, who'd played on the Anfield Road ground for 8 years, left to go to Goodison Park after an argument about rent with their landlord, John Holding. He stayed to form a new club and called it Liverpool. Within 9 years, his new team were champions of the First Division, and Liverpool won the title again with this team in 1906. That year saw the creation of the Kop, at first just a mound of cinders, rubble and earth, later to be covered with concrete. The open terrace was christened the Kop by Ernest Edwards, then sports editor of the Liverpool Post and Echo. He took the name from the Boer War in South Africa, where 6 years earlier British troops captured a hill called Spion Kop during a battle to relieve the town of Ladysmith. The following day their commanding officer was killed and the British retreated. When the Boers renewed their attack and regained the hill, 300 British soldiers, mostly from Lancashire regiments and many from Liverpool and Merseyside, died in the battle. One veteran Liverpool supporter who stood on the Kop at Anfield in the early days was Billy O'Donnell.
It was a lovely view from the top of the Kop. There was about 4 or 5 inch wall, that's all, and you could look out. The crowds would be out shouting outside sometimes. What score is it? They're all to go up. Who scored? You know, need to be shouting down to them. And then, of course, the 28, 29, the roof went on, and it was real good then.
That roof was then the largest single-span structure on an English football ground. The new Kop was opened when Liverpool played Bury in the first match of the 1928-29 season, Liverpool winning 3-0. Their most celebrated player at that time was the great Irish goalkeeper Elisha Scott, and Billy O'Donnell recalls that he was among early favourites adopted by the Kop.
The most favourites was Elisha Scott, the goalkeeper, and he spent nearly 20 years at Liverpool. He came in 1912, I think it was. He took, the previous goalkeeper was Kenny Campbell. He was a good one and all, but Elisha was brilliant. There was a lot of repartee with the Kop, especially when Parson Jackson was there, the full back. You know, he was a proper Parson, you know, and if anything went wrong, Jackson would get it off Elisha, you know, he didn't hold back any words.
Humour was to play a significant part in the reputation of the Kop. A cartoonist of the time summed up the mood on the day the covered Kop was opened. And it was a major development between the wars. A covered terrace which would hold up to 28,000 standing spectators, 80 feet high at its tallest point. The programme for the match against Bury gave full details of what would become a world-famous institution. When Liverpool ran out now at Anfield, they were assured of a gigantic welcome. all too much for their young mascot before this FA Cup tie against Bolton in 1929. Wanderers were the outstanding cup team of the 20s, winners of the first Wembley final in 1923, winners again in 1926. Good-humoured Liverpool supporters standing on the Kop in that first season under the new roof took their hats off to that sort of achievement. There was a cheerful atmosphere in the ground as 55,000 packed Anfield for this fourth round FA Cup tie, one of the first Liverpool matches to attract the newsreel cameras. The noise from the recently covered Kop made a firm impression on Bolton's cup campaigners, but they survived where many of Liverpool's future opponents would fold, and they forced a 0-0 draw and won the replay at Burnden Park by 5-2. The flagpole on the Kemlyn Road corner of the Kop was formerly the top mast of the Great Eastern, one of the world's first iron ships, which lay broken up in Liverpool docks when the Kop was opened. The flags were out for Liverpool's Freddie Howe in September 1935. He scored 4 goals in a 6-0 win over Everton, to the delight of the Kop. But the cartoonist who poked fun at Everton and Dixie Dean was a shade premature, because only 4 days later Liverpool lost 6-0 at Manchester City. The headlines were sombre in September 1939. Europe was on the brink of war. The last programme of First Division matches saw Liverpool beat Chelsea 1-0 at Anfield. The winning goal was scored by Cyril Doane, who was making his debut. He had to wait 7 years to resume his league career. During the war, Merseyside suffered its share of bomb damage. The river, a key thoroughfare for trade, was an obvious target, and the city of Liverpool was badly battered in the Blitz. But when peacetime football resumed, Liverpool were the first post-war champions. They sealed the title by winning 2-1 at Wolves in their last match. Billy Liddell, the Scottish international, was now the idol of the Kop, but not far behind him in their affection came Jack Balmer and Albert Stubbins, 2 fine goal scorers. The mood on the Kop was infectious.
You'd get the lads coming down with the trays of sweets before the game, and as half-time, pastels and bars of chocolate, penny bars of chocolate and chewing gum. And around about quarter way off the Kop, you could throw your money down, 10 or threaten, you know, a penny, and he'd throw it up. You always got it. It was always passed up to you, you know. Because if you're at the back of the Kop, you had to come down into the wall and get you. Yeah, and then other sites I remember, if someone had fainted at the back of the Kop, he'd get carried right down over the heads, right down to the touchline. Yeah. Things like that, and the tram men, the tram drivers, they always stuck out in my mind, because the trams were wide open them days, and they'd stop outside the ground about 2:45. The drivers would go in, and the conductors, and the red face, you know, with the weather and rain, their oil skins, that stood out in my mind, them days.
In 1952, Anfield's record crowd of nearly 62,000 saw Liverpool play Wolves in the Cup, and in 1957, Everton helped open Liverpool's floodlights. But the most significant date was December 1959, and the arrival at Anfield of Bill Shankly. Ian St John and fellow Scot Ron Yates were 2 early Shankly signings. Yates, a giant centre-half and captain, saw Shankly's colossal impact.
He had a great relationship with the crowd, and especially the Kop. You know, I don't know if he intended it that way, but it certainly happened that way. They took to him, you know, like a fish takes to water. They loved him. He was a man of the people, and he was an ordinary guy himself, you know. But the Kop loved him, you know, and he loved them.
In 1962, Liverpool won the Second Division Championship. When they clinched promotion by beating Southampton, the scenes were unforgettable.
And of course, the crowd wouldn't go until, you know, we stayed on the pitch for about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour. And then we went into the dressing room and Shanks came and he says, look lads, he says, you're going to have to go back out because they won't go unless you make an appearance, you know. So we came out and of course we'd had almost suits and everything. And didn't I get thrown into one of the ends? I don't know if it was the Cop or one of the ends. I got thrown in, and I'm no joking, there must have been thousands of people patting me in the back, you know. I was full of bruises and everything. I got out of there half an hour later, you know, and I remember getting out, so myself, Ian St John, we went down to a pub in Scotty Road. We used to go out there every game, after every home game, and what a night, what a night.
And what a euphoric time on Merseyside. There was plenty of employment in the docks. Export figures were high. Liverpool held pride of place as an important port on the world trade map. Showbiz stars like Ken Dodd, Jimmy Tarbuck and Jerry Marsden were centre stage, and Liverpool, with the rise of the Beatles, became the acknowledged capital of the pop music industry. Cilla Black was another who made #1. In April 1964, Liverpool under Shankly were on the verge of the First Division Championship.
The Gladiators enter the arena, the field of praise. Saturday's weather perfect for an historic Scouse occasion.
The BBC Current Affairs programme Panorama sent a camera team and reporter to the home match against Arsenal to study the phenomenon they called the Cop.
Liverpool in red shirts were playing before their own spectators for the last time this season. The desire to win was an agonised one. They would be the champions of England, and they wanted their own people to see them become so. They care so much about football. This season, over 2 million people on Merseyside have watched Liverpool or their neighbours Everton, last year's champions. But they don't behave like any other football crowd, especially not at one end of Anfield ground on the Cop. The music the crowd sings is the music that Liverpool has sent echoing around the world.
It used to be thought that Welsh international rugby crowds were the most musical and passionate in the world. But I've never seen anything like this Liverpool crowd. On the field here, the gay and inventive ferocity they show is quite stunning. The Duke of Wellington, before the Battle of Waterloo, said of his own troops, "I don't know what they do to the enemy, but by God, they frighten me." And I'm sure some of the players here in this match this afternoon must be feeling the same way. An anthropologist studying this Cop crowd would be introduced into as rich and mystifying a popular culture as in any South Sea island. Their rhythmic swaying is an elaborate and organized ritual. The 28,000 people on the Cop itself begin singing together. They seem to know intuitively when to begin. Throughout the match, they invent new words, usually within the framework of old Liverpool songs, to express adulatory, cruel, or bawdy comments about the players or the police. But even then, they begin singing these new words with one immediate, huge voice. They seem, mysteriously, to be in touch with one another, with Wacker, the spirit of Scouse. The spirit is good-humoured and generous when they're winning, but not necessarily when they're losing. On Saturday, they were certainly winning. hour, Liverpool scored 5 goals and could have scored more. Their poor, sacrificial victims were Arsenal, Southerners. On Merseyside, football is the consuming passion. It's hard to persuade people to talk about anything else, except perhaps the beat groups, which the Kop crowd do a lot to explain.
Liverpool and the Kop were now known well beyond Merseyside. One Kopite to experience those heady days in the early 60s became one of Liverpool's comedians to make himself a household name. For Stan Boardman, standing on the Kop was not just about going to a football match.
You used to meet your mates in the Kop. That was the days. You used to meet them in the pub across the road, and you'd come over here and you'd stand X marks the spot somewhere around here, within this area anyway, and you'd meet your mates, all your mates that you work with, all the mates that you go to school with, and we just all stand in the same spot. It was incredible, really, you know, that you'd all sort of congregate. When you think that there was, what, 28,000 people here, you used to manage to get to that exact spot. And I could always pinpoint my spot because it was just right of the post, where Roger Hunt scored a lot of his goals. He used to come in, tearing in there and right into... We saw some great goals here, like Peter Thompson tearing up the wing here, beating 3 and 4 men and banging in the back of the net in the corner there, you know. Billy Little even. I mean, Billy Little used to take the corners over that side, and you couldn't see the corner flag, and all the Kop used to go forward like that. And these barriers weren't as wide as these. They were only about 6 foot wide. So everybody used to come tearing down here, and it was like a sort of sea of bodies just to see Billy Little taking the corner. Before Shankly came, Liverpool was, you know, nobody knew about Liverpool. I mean, we used to go to the local pitches, and all the pitches were done in London, and Liverpool was never ever mentioned. And if Liverpool did get mentioned, it was funny, really. There'd be like an actor saying, yes, and we've got to go up to Liverpool to get the boat. Well, the old picture house used to roar. And that's the only thing that we used to get. Liverpool are mentioned on the pitches. But then when the Beatles started, everyone wanted to know about Liverpool and the Cavern and Town. You couldn't get into a club without a tie in Liverpool them days, the Grafton or the Locarno or any of the clubs in town. So all the lads used to come dressed up, and we used to leave here and go over to the Sandon, right, and get some fish and chips, and then go into the Sandon, which was like a pub with cabaret. So you could go and see all the groups like the Beatles and Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Undertakers, the Maisie Beats, the Remo 4, the Big Three, and they were all down there. They were all in the town. And we used to get down there dead early. You know, I'm talking early, 6:30, 7:30, and we were down there. But we used to go to the Sandon first, which was the first pub across the road. And you can get in there, you'd see Freddie Starr doing his act in there, just starting off. And it was a great time. And because Liverpool hadn't been mentioned before in the 50s or even before that, all of a sudden everybody's talking about Liverpool and the groups. And we were so proud to have come from Liverpool, and we used to stand up here on the Kop and sing the Beatles songs and Jerry and the Pacemakers and any other song that was going at the time. It was a brilliant time.
And a unique time too. In 1965, Liverpool won the FA Cup for the first time in their history.
It's out to Callaghan. Taking it too far. It's a goal! And there's the famous trophy. There's the Liverpool chairman raising his hand. Mr. Follows next to Her Majesty. And behind Her Majesty, Mr. Reynolds, the Leeds chairman.
The homecoming was an event in itself. Over 500,000 people packed Liverpool city centre as the cup was carried from Lime Street Station to the town hall. The club was poised for 25 years of unparalleled success, not just at home, but also in Europe. Liverpool were through to the semi-final of the European Cup, and Inter Milan arrived on Merseyside as holders of the World Club Cup, which they'd won as European champions.
And I think the Inter Milan players, you know, the cup got to them. There's no doubt about it. Even though they were getting 70,000 over in Italy, and I don't think they'd ever witnessed anything what they were going to witness that night. And they helped us tremendously. I think possibly us winning the cup, you know, the week before was helped as well, you know, with a tremendous night.
For many long-standing Liverpool supporters, there has never been a night at Anfield to match this one. Just 3 days after winning the FA Cup for the first time, Liverpool were able to parade the trophy in front of their own devoted supporters.
Here it comes, carried by Jerry Byrne and Gordon Milne, the two injured players. Byrne, who played for all the cup final except 2 minutes with a broken collarbone. Gordon Milne, who couldn't play in the game at all. You'll think that reception's fantastic. Wait till it gets round to the Kop. Strong. Here's number 7, Callaghan. Hunt, the goal. Great goal, a great goal by Hunt. Oh, Yates, what a bad mistake, and now the centre forward. Pero. Surely a goal. Mazzola, yes. Tragic error by Ron Yates. Everyone back in defence now. Hunt, go on Callaghan, he's done it. It's an intelligent ball by Thompson. And none of his men have broken clear. Now Smith, one of the first to break. Is Strong going on his right. Hunt is onside. Yes, a great save as St John has scored. And that could put Liverpool in the final. And now the crowd singing, "Go back to Italy." Well, I've never heard words like that to Santa Lucia before in my life.
One captivated Liverpool supporter inside Anfield that night was destined to be a leading Liverpool and England defender of the future, Phil Thompson.
That night against Inter Milan was something special because you look at it, people had heard about the Kop, and okay, through the 50s and everything, it was always been here. Through the 60s it was coming, special, massive people, great songs, humour and everything. But I think that night, 65, I think the Kop came of age. And I think it really did, because there was wit, there was humour on the night and everything. For being such a tense game, the humour still comes shining through, and I think that's the thing which the Kopites have had, which has been unique.
The following season, they lifted Liverpool again, this time in the Cup Winners' Cup.
Callaghan. After Strong, the goal.
That night, you know, knocked off 4:30, like up to the Albert, 5 o'clock, the pub opened, like, you know, and all sorts of Celtic supporters in there, like, and the Liverpool lads all just knocking off work, coming in one by one, and it was only about 5 or 6 of us anyway. We all started singing, like, one's not enough, and after that, like, it broke the ice, and there was all sorts of pints of bitter, pints of lager coming over anyway. Into the match, into the match we went, like, you know, oh, the atmosphere again, unbelievable. Anyway, the Kop, like, you know, was that packed in that sense. There was steam coming off everyone, you know, this incredible steam rising up.
Kopite Lenny Woods well remembers that goal scored by the hobbling Jeff Strong. That same season, the Kop celebrated another championship.
This is the Mersey sound of football. These are the whackers who've made Liverpool the most swinging city in soccer. At the slightest pretext, they'll break into song with variations on many themes. Their roar of wrath is fearsome. Liverpudlians are the most professional football supporters in the world. Mind you, they've got something to sing about. Liverpool Football Club have won the league twice and the FA Cup in 3 successive seasons. Never have the honours fallen so thick and fast. The young men of Chelsea, who often look destined for greatness but have yet to achieve it, join in the acclaim. They clap in admiration. In their hearts must be a tinge of envy. Success, they say, breeds success. The gates at Anfield this season have totalled almost £1.25 million. In terms of hard cash, it must approach the £250,000 mark. And in turn, the players are probably the highest paid in Britain. They've always been like this at Anfield, but now it's brought up to date. Once, Billy Little was the king. Now the halo is worn by St. John. Another of the Merseyside idols, Roger Hunt, back in the side after several weeks out with an ankle injury, is responsible for the first goal. Liverpool are in front, and the Kop explodes with delight. Once again, Hunt is the striker. It's his 29th league goal of the season and wins the match and the championship. This team is full of fine players, but much of their success is due to the dedicated, almost fanatical enthusiasm of their manager, Bill Shankly. He's taken a good player and made him better. Shankly believes in everything he does. He's made the team believe. He's made the fans believe. Between them, they've made a mountain, and Liverpool Football Club stands on the peak. So the championship is won, and only the lap of honour remains. Ron Yates, the genial Scottish giant of a captain, carries a fan-made replica of the trophy, but it doesn't matter. The 53,000 salute the few who've won the most gruelling football competition in the world.
The wit and humour for which the Kop was renowned was often directed at opposing goalkeepers. Everton's Gordon West, a rival in derby matches, was proffered a handbag. The Kop conferred their own knighthood on Liverpool's great goalscorer Roger Hunt, and they chorused careless hands when Welsh international goalkeeper Gary Sprake threw the ball into his own net at the Kop end during a match against Leeds United in the snow.
All the gags used to come, you know, there was times here when supporters used to bring their ashes of the fathers and that, and the husbands and wives used to throw the ashes all over the Kop. We've seen them loads of times. And this fella said, that doesn't happen at Everton. He said, what do you do at Everton? He said, they stuff them and put them in the stands. And last week they did it to a fella. He stuffed them and put them in the stands, and at half-time he went home. If you look around, could you imagine 28,000 people here? How would you go to the toilet? Well, you had to either do it behind one of them posts, which was too far away, or you did it here, you know, and especially if you've been in the pub before. So a lot of lads used to sort of roll up the Liverpool Echo and wee down the Liverpool Echo, so you didn't splash anybody. And I remember I was bursting to go to the toilet one day, and I said to my mates, I've got to go to the toilet, you know. And I didn't have an Echo, and my mate said, do it in the fella's pocket in front of you. I said, he might feel it. He said, you never. Remember one day, there was a 20-stone guy, supposed to have fainted at the top. Watch out, lads, and he came down, and he come down about 50 miles an hour. On the hands, not falling on the floor, kept right the way down, about 20 stone, boom. Took him about 3 minutes to get from the top right the way down here. And they got him off over the barrier, And he went to the lad with the sweets, bought 2 Mars bars and climbed back in the cop. The funny thing about it, when the cop was full here and we were waiting for the game to start, there'd be a balloon on the pitch and the wind would be blowing it. And we'd all be watching this balloon, like sort of hypnotised by it, you know. There's nothing else to do, just talk and watch this balloon going on. And then the wind would sort of slowly start bringing the balloon towards the goal. And you could hear the roar of the cop. And the balloon would be going towards the goal, and it just missed the post. It'd go, oh! Then the wind would blow it out again. Here it comes again, and 28,000 people go, oh! It was fantastic, and this is what we used to, you know, we should bide our time waiting for the match to start.
The Kop were generous in their appreciation when Leeds won the championship at Anfield in 1969.
And at the end of the match, Billy went to our supporters at the bottom end, where there must have been about 89,000 Leeds supporters there. And he came to the dugout and he said to me, "Great, boss," and he jumped on me. I said, "Oh, it's fantastic, son. At last we've got the championship." And I said, "Take them to the Kop." "Oh, no," he said, "I can't do that." So he walked them for the Kop. I've never seen a sight like it. He walked them from the halfway line towards the Kop. When they got to the 18 yards box, the Kop just went deathly quiet, 27,000 people. And he walked and he walked and he walked till he got right on the dead ball line, only about 6 yards from them now, from the middle of the Kop. And they lifted one chap up on the shoulders and he started singing Champions. And the 27,000 immediately picked up this Champions, and they kept our players there for 5 minutes, clapping and roaring Champions to them. And they just lost the championship, which I thought was fantastic.
That display of sportsmanship prompted the late Don Revie to send the Kop a telegram, and there was another from Football League president Len Shipman. Their behaviour made police patrol at Anfield an easy job for Sergeant Jim Hesketh, whose beat in front of the Kop earned him the nickname the Walrus.
It was a great occasion for me at times because they're so well behaved. It was like coming to the theatre because they had all the songs going later on in the 60s. They used to make fun, christened me, their name called me the Walrus. I didn't know why, but I wasn't offended by it because I've been called other names and Walrus was quite polite. I went to Tenerife on one occasion, the very first time I ever went to Tenerife, and in Puerto de la Cruz, and there was a bar there called the Stage Door Bar, and outside was the entertainer was by Barry from Liverpool. So I thought that would be interesting. I'll go in, and as soon as I went in the door, Barry was playing his organ and singing. And when I went in the door, he stopped playing. He said, "Good God," he said, "it's that copper from the Kop." And then he stopped playing, and he introduced me to all the people in the bar. He said, "This man is to the Kop at Liverpool what the policeman on the White Horse was at Wembley." So I said, "I'm not all that good, Barry." Anyway, it was very nice of him to say so.
When Shankly rebuilt his team, the new wave included university graduates Steve Highway and Brian Hall, now the club's community officer.
When you've got 55,000 people in the stadium, and back in those days, the 60s and the 70s, the noise was incredible. It was literally impossible to switch off from it. It got to you, and it did lift you, and it did raise you. In fact, standing in the centre of the pitch, we couldn't carry out a conversation between ourselves. Even if we shouted at one another, there was that much din going on.
The intimidating Anfield sign that stands over the tunnel as the teams run out often frightened the opposition.
I think there was two elements that came into play there. There's no two ways about it, that in those days the opposition were terrified to come and play here. I can't quite remember the statistic, but it's something like 60 odd 70 consecutive home games without defeat. I mean, that's staggering, isn't it? So, I mean, already there's an inbuilt fear because of that. But then on top of that, the players having to go out and play against 11 red shirts that probably sometimes seem like 22 red shirts, they had to contend with this enormous noise that was going on, you know. And when you've got like 26,000 people on the Kop and they're all singing in unison and they're all chanting in unison, it must have been terrifying. In fact, I can remember one Ipswich player actually saying to me 10 minutes into the second half of a game, he hated playing here. And just at that moment, they subbed him. That was the quickest he moved all afternoon to get off the pitch. He was made up.